Hey everybody, welcome back. We're getting going this morning on putting the ball joints in these knuckles. And I've done a lot of ball joint videos, but I still get quite a few of the same questions. We're using Moog Ball Joints here. They're greasable. And I'm set up right now to put the lower one in. I wouldn't recommend you try your ball joints unless you have the proper tools. At the very minimum, there's your OTC 3-in-1 service set is what they call it, the 7249. You get a basic kit, you get the yoke. You need stuff like that. This is let's see what they call this one. That's the Master Ball Joint Adapter Set. And you'll use both of them if you're doing ball joints. I see a lot of guys just try and bang them in, hammer them in. They do stuff on the press and they break their knuckle. Get the right stuff. If you're going to do the ball joints, get the right stuff. It'll just make your life a lot easier. You see I'm set up here for the lower one. There's the ball joint. I got a spacer and a cup on the bottom, an adapter for my yoke, and we're just going to hit that with the impact gun and bring it right in. There's no magic to it, but just take your time, make sure everything's going nice and smooth, and the knuckles, they're very strong, but I've seen guys mangle them doing this kind of work on the press to snap this upper ear off, snap the bottom one off. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're making more work for yourself. So let's get that bottom one in. Okay, with the right setup, that guy is just pressed right in there, and we can move on to the top one next. Okay guys, the first thing I get a lot of questions on is the ball joint has a groove in it on the bottom after it's pressed in, and they give you a snap ring in the kit. There's not enough room to put it in there, and a lot of guys are like, I just can't get it right, and some guys are milling their knuckles to get this in. When this was used in a Jeep application, the snap ring was not used. It comes in your kit. Just throw it out or throw it in your drawer, snap rings, whatever. You don't need to put it on there. It's not necessary. It was never like that from the factory. And don't go crazy thinking that you need this in there. You just don't need it. You're going to get in your kit a little plug that you can put in there. That's the lowest part there. You don't want a grease fitting, big grease fitting hanging out and just get ripped off, on a trail or wherever you are. So you grease it with the grease fitting, put the plug in there, and you'll be all set. Do not worry about this. I like I say, I made some videos on ball joints, and I still get this question. You do not need that snap ring in the lower ball joint. Okay guys, this ball joint, you can see the grease. Let me see if you can see that. See that hole right there? That's your grease fitting. Some of them, the holes on the bottom, I've installed them before. You've got to have your axle shaft out so you get the grease to it. So I started using these. It's on the side. You can't just put this in just any which way or you'll never get to it. They tell you to put it in. Hope the lighting's okay here. Hang in there with me. They tell you to put it in facing directly toward the rear. Well, that won't work. You have to put this in on an angle so you can get to it with your grease gun. So you've got to figure out where you want your grease fitting. You can do it to the front as well. Put it on an angle toward the front. You can, I think toward the back is better. So, you know, that's just how they recommend putting it in. So make sure you orient your grease fitting before you press that in. So we'll figure out where we want that, and then and get that guy pressed in there. Okay guys, here's the setup for putting the top one in. Got our long cup here. This is a tapered cup. The knuckle is tapered, and in your kit you'll get some tapered cups. Just gotta rotate that around, orient it so it's hitting the whole thing here. That's going to receive the ball joint. So we're just going to hit this with an impact gun, drive that guy in there until it's seated, and then we'll move on to the installation. Okay, I'll try and show you that cup here. I think you can see how it's tapered. These are very handy for when you're doing your uppers, because the knuckles are always on an angle. So that's the top. Hope you can see the. I'll try and get you in there. Okay, see that grease fitting? It's pointing directly at like a 45. Yeah, don't put it back there, you'll never get the grease fitting to it. Don't put it here, you won't get the grease fitting to it. It's got to be angled toward the back. Okay, so that's the upper. So now we can put this knuckle onto the axle. Okay guys, there's our split seat that comes in the kit. You need your special socket to put that in and torque it down to 50 foot-pounds when the time is right. For now, I put a little bit of anti-seize on it, and we're just going to take that guy down. Somewhere around flush, something like that will do you good. You got to get it started first. It's hard to get them in after, so make sure you start that. And like I said, I put a little anti-seize just because it's just easier. They move easier and they don't get stuck in there. I'm going to grab the knuckle. Okay, let's grab the knuckle. Okay, before we put this on, we got to talk about the upper boot, how that goes on. So I'll grab it and try and give you a close-up of how that should be put on there. Okay, here's the knuckle with the boot. And right where this notch is, very small print, it says mount inboard. So you want that notch facing directly towards the center section. So it'll be just like that. Notch is there and right in line with the tube. Like I say, everything's on an angle here. They plan the boot and everything so it seals good. So just be conscious of where you put your boot. and you won't get any dirt or debris or mud or water or anything in there. The boot will be sealing just correctly. Get that knuckle pushed up enough so you could just catch your bottom nut. Okay, now keep it from falling out of there. Now, that bottom nut is a lock nut. And if you just go try and tighten that, chances are your ball joint's going to spin in there. You need to get up pressure on this so that the ball joint doesn't spin. So we're going to take the top nut, which isn't a lock nut, stick it on the bottom, and try and draw that bottom one up a little bit, and we'll put the lock nut on later. There's fixtures available to put up pressure on these. If you were doing this in the vehicle, you can put the weight of the wheel on there and tighten that down. You could put something under there. If you got it on a lift, you can just kind of put a jack under there, lift it up. But when you're doing it on a bench, it's a little different. So we'll grab the upper nut, and then we'll put that on the bottom. Okay, that's just a castle nut. No locking feature, so it'll want to just draw that up there for us. Okay, so we'll start to get that tightened and draw that knuckle up so it kind of locks itself in there. Okay guys, I brought up the bottom with the top castle nut, and now I got the top castle nut at about 20 foot-pounds on the upper, and on the lower we've got some of our ARP Ultra Torque on the threads and also on this flat area where the nut is going to turn. And now we're going to take this to 80 foot-pounds. 85 foot-pounds, excuse me. 85 foot-pounds on that lock nut, and then we'll go up top and we'll start working on that split seat. So let's get that guy to 85 right now. Okay guys, if you follow what I'm saying here, and you start with your castle nut on the bottom and bring it up, you won't have to worry about that ball joint spinning on the bottom. I get a lot of questions about guys that say, oh, I can't get it tight because the ball joint spins. Bring it up first. Let's try and get 85 on that guy. Okay, there we go. 85 on the bottom. It can be a nuisance because that can spin, but if you follow what I told you here, it'll work out for you. Bring it up first without the lock nut with that guy. Then put your ARP assembly lube on there so you get a real true torque. Torque the bottom to 85. That's your first thing you do. 85 foot-pounds. We'll come up to the top and we'll set that seat now at 50 foot-pounds. Okay guys, got you zoomed right in on that top guy there. Don't try and do this with a hammer and a chisel or a hammer and a punch. You need a ball joint socket. And this is a snap-on. A lot of companies make them. You need a ball joint socket to do this. And 50 foot-pounds what we're after. Okay, there we go. 50 foot-pounds. This nut goes on at 100 foot-pounds. And it's an 1 5/16" nut, so make sure you have the right size socket for that. so you can get the right torque on that. Again, so we get true torque, a little ARP assembly lube. We do this on all our critical fasteners, and also where the nut is going to be dragging along the cast iron. Put a little slippery surface there for it so we get a real true torque reading on that. And again, 100 foot-pounds. And then we'll check and see what the knuckle feels like. Okay, we missed our cotter pin hole, so don't ever loosen it to get to your cotter pin hole. Go to the next one. This is easier when you're doing it in a vehicle. You got the whole weight of the vehicle to pull against. But when you're doing it on a bench, it's kind of a, you really got to hang on to things. Almost there. Just a touch more. Okay, that's 100 foot-pounds. We'll get the cotter pin through there, and I'll be right back with you. Okay guys, cotter pin's in. We're going to see what this feels like for the first time. Remember, we don't have any grease in here yet. It'll get a little bit smoother, but let's check this out. Oh yeah, that's a perfect sweep on that. I do get a lot of questions, guys, saying they're too tight. If they're too tight, you did something wrong, and you go back and check your seat on top. But that, you know, after you do a few, you'll know what this should feel like. That is perfect. It's not hanging up. It's not dragging. It's not too tight. It's not too loose. Back in the day when there was trouble with ball joints, and Jeep had some trouble with their ball joints, when you went into the dealer, they would disconnect everything, your tie rod, your steering, all that stuff. They would pull this nut, they'd pull the seat, and they would dislodge the knuckle and start just like I did here. 85 on the bottom. They'd put the seat to 50. Obviously, they were putting new ball joints in if it needed it. But take the seat to 50, torque that to 100, and you'll get that every time. Moog makes good ball joints. I know there's a lot of different manufacturers. I still like Moog. I think they make a good product. You can pick whatever you like. But you should have a smooth setup if you follow the directions and you do it in sequence. Get the bottom first, set the seat, torque the top. I see a lot of guys do it backwards. I see sometimes where guys, they send me pictures of what they're doing and videos and stuff, and they can't even move their knuckle. You did something wrong. Don't put your axle in the Jeep and think you're going to go steering good down the road. Again, this is your steering, so make sure you get it right. But that is silky smooth, and that's what you're looking for. Ball joint shouldn't be as hard as some guys make it. Follow the directions. Keep your wits about you. Get the right tools to put them in, and you won't have any trouble at all. So the other side is the exact same thing, and I'm going to get that set up now, and we're going to end this video here, but I will take you and show you how we do the axle U-joints next, and then I'll go over the wheel bearings again, because that's another thing I get a lot of questions on, and we'll just take this one video at a time. Anybody doing a day in a 30, just follow along, and you should have pretty good luck. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.